Welcome back. What began as a gathering of geek girls in NYC has grown into a global community. With over 40 chapters spanning multiple states, Geek Girl Brunch brings women together to indulge in anime, comics, and more while enjoying mimosas. Angie Campoverde, officer for Geek Girl Brunch, joins me now to discuss the group. Angie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Now, can you talk about, what is Geek Girl Brunch? It sounds really fun.
So you basically summed it up. It's a group of women who get together very often actually to talk about fandom. Anything from movies to comics to anime to whatever you can think of, video games, streaming, literally anything, any fandom. We get together, we discuss it, and usually we do it over drinks. Whether it's mimosas or your choice of Bellini, it's completely up to you.
Now, what's so exciting about this, as I mentioned, there's now 40 chapters. Why do you think this has resonated with so many women?
I think it's because, so growing up, there wasn't, at least for me, there wasn't a lot of places where women can go and feel like you saw other women geeking out about certain things. I grew up with brothers, so that was kind of like a their thing. It's like a man thing. And a lot of places growing up, comic book stores, you didn't really see too many women. Even with superhero movies, you didn't see too many women. People who were in the fandom it was male oriented culture, right? So if you knew about it, you knew about it. But even in social gatherings with men, they were very knowledgeable. So it was a bit intimidating. You walk into it and you don't want to say the wrong thing because, you could be ridiculed, things like that. That's something that's not a thing in Geek Girl Brunch, right? You can come, you can ask questions. And I feel like it resonates with people because some women, at least the women that I've met, are very interested in learning about a fandom, but they're scared of asking questions, right? They're scared of saying the wrong thing, or maybe they saw one Star Wars movies, but they haven't seen everything else, or the animated or read the comics, and they're scared. They're like, maybe I don't fit in. But Geek Girl Brunch has a way of, even if you just like one movie, one scene, one lightsaber, one thing, just come learn, talk about it, geek out with us, and have a drink if you want.
And it's so interesting that you bring that up because I think in a lot of fandoms, like even if you like music or anything, it's like if you don't know every single aspect, it's like you're not a real fan.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that you guys tried to kind of like step away from that?
So I think the biggest thing we do is we educate each other and we share what we know, right? So we're on social media, we're on Discord, we all text, it's more of like a family that, grows up together and we share different things, especially our Discord network. If somebody sees something or learns something, they're like, hey, did you know about this? Hey, look at this event. There's a pop-up here. And it's the same thing with learning about a fandom. So many times you come to a brunch and you say, well, I didn't know this happened. And somebody will spark up a conversation. Well, actually, it's this way or this way. It's all about learning, getting together, and getting to know the fandom itself, whatever it is. We recently hosted a Dungeons and Dragons brunch where a lot of the brunchettes asked, like, hey, I want to get interested into D&D, but I don't know where to start because it's an overload of information. So one of our other officers, she's actually a dungeon master. So she hosted a D&D brunch where we did a small campaign introducing everybody to characters, how to play, the rules, and it ended up being a lot of fun. So things like that, just educating girls about learning about more about the fandom that they want to be a part of.
And then what made you want to actually be a part of, Geek Girl Brunch? Because I know you talked about your upbringing, but what made
Yeah.
you kind of want to take that step? Because I feel like sometimes it could be intimidating to like even just want to join a group
Yeah.
about this kind of stuff. So what inspired you?
Funny enough, me personally, I didn't want to join. So I've been with Geek Girl Brunch for maybe 4 years now. But at first, my cousin, one of the other officers, she was there from like one of their first meetings, right? She's been there for a while. And she kept telling me, like, listen, just come. You like these things. And I kept saying, no, I'm okay. I'm busy. I don't have time. And then they hosted their first ever book brunch a couple of years back. And I'm a sucker for books. Like any book, you got me, that's fine. So we went to a book brunch, and walking in and seeing 15 different women talking about the same books that I loved, but then being able to switch a conversation from like, oh, did you read this book? To, oh, did you watch that new Pokemon episode? Or I'm excited about the new Star Wars movie. Oh, I went to Disney and got this lightsaber. Just being able to switch the conversation from so many different fandoms wasn't something that I was never able to do before. I could meet someone that was interested in a book, but we couldn't really talk about different types of fandoms. Like nobody really knew about all the video games or all of these things. And going into that brunch, it was everybody. everybody had a different fandom that I knew about, heard of, wanted to know more about. And it was a sense of inclusion. And that was it. I went to one brunch and I've been here for 4 or 5 years now and haven't looked back since.
That's amazing. Now, why is it important that women have these safe spaces to kind of, geek out and just kind of, share similar interests?
I think it's more of a human thing. So we provide the culture for women because it's a void, right? You don't have many women that can go and talk about a fandom in certain spaces. But I think anyone in general needs time to decompress and just enjoy something that they personally love, right? When we grow up, they tell you being an adult is hard, life is stressful, and you're like, yeah, sure, whatever. You don't want to listen to it. But then you become an adult and you realize that it is stressful, it is hard. Life has a way of kicking your butt sometimes. And sometimes you just need to get away from everything, put your phone down, decompress, and just recharge your battery however you see fit. And a lot of us just want to indulge in the fandom, recharge our battery, and then get back to work the next day.
What I think is also so cool about this, organization and this group is that oftentimes I feel like sometimes women aren't allowed to kind of like tap into their younger sides, or like I think oftentimes when men are nerdy or geek out on things, it's expected.
Hmm.
But people don't always expect women to kind of like indulge in their youthful side. So like how do you guys embrace that, like, just being youthful and kind of like tapping into things that would, I guess, normally be associated with like younger generations, whereas like men don't have to deal with the consequences of that. How do you guys tap into that?
So I think we just go all out. Like we have one foot in the door, we go all out. Many of the brunchettes for our Geek Girl brunches, they come dressed up. So this outfit is actually not something new. This has been sitting in my closet. I wear it to Comic Con. I've worn it to brunches. Like this isn't anything new. We all have something in our closets. But you'd be surprised how many times we walk into a brunch area or restaurant and everyone's so intrigued by what we're doing, right? Everyone has questions. Everyone wants to join. Everyone wants to go in. I think it's more because we feel that support system, right? Would I go to a restaurant like this by myself? Probably not. But because there's so many of us doing it, there's that sense of community that like, it's okay. If people want to think we look ridiculous, we'll look ridiculous together. We're having fun while we're doing it. And after a couple mimosas, we don't even realize that we're in public anyway.
Now, can you talk about the brunch itself? What can people expect when they attend one of these brunches?
So Geek Girl Brunch, currently we're hosting it every other month. We used to do one every month. After COVID. We kind of switched over to once a month, which we're kind of sticking to right now. It's just working out because we do host other events in between brunches. We call them meetups. So if a movie's launching, Comic-Con, things like that, we'll meet up together and we'll go to these events. But for brunch specifically, you come in. We usually do bottomless options. We do have some brunchettes that don't drink, so it is an option if you want to drink or not. But all our brunches are themed, so we try to do different fandoms. We have a sci-fi brunch coming up. We've done, like I said, Dungeons and Dragons. We've done Galentine's Day for Valentine's Day. We've done video games, board games. We just try to come up with new fandoms and new themes. Most of the girls come dressed up. They come in shirts with the theme. And then when you get there, we order food, we eat, we drink, but we also discuss the fandom. So anything you want to get off your chest about it, something you saw that you weren't happy about, something that you love, something that you saw that you were happy about, things you want to learn, asking questions. It's just a group of women that just kind of get together. We often do go off topic and talk about, the newest thing that just came out that either got on our nerves or we loved, or the new episode, season, anything. But it's basically just a group of girls talking about the fandom, enjoying it. Usually, if you're new, you'll get people's numbers, you'll exchange information, you'll probably end up hanging out afterwards.
Now, that's what's also so amazing about this is like, of course, you get to talk about the things you love, but then you get to meet people that you'll
Mhm.
eventually love and, become really good friends with. Can you talk about maybe some of your experience with kind of like growing in that area of like making new relationships and networking?
Oh, absolutely. So when I started, the only person I knew, like I mentioned before, was my cousin, right? She had been with this group forever. And she was the only person I knew. And now it's turned into a book club, crafting circle, D&D night. Like it's turned into so many other things because everyone just wants to get more of that, right? Before, when I first joined, it was once a month. That was it. Now it's a whole Discord channel. we meet up for brunch, but then we have a separate book club. We meet up for brunch, but then there's a separate crafting circle. So we have one of the officers that does knitting and crocheting with the girls who are interested in that. And they geek out while they crochet. We geek out about books. You know, if you're interested in Dungeons and Dragons, we have one of our officers that hosts all that good stuff. So we've had officers who've been in each other's weddings, who are lifelong friends. I have friends that I text every day about books and, oh, are you coming to the next brunch? It just turns into a community of people that, you know, you look forward to. Comic-Con just passed, so we were all like looking for each other. What cosplay are you wearing? What are you doing this? And it just turns into a sense of community.
That's amazing. And I'm so happy to hear that you guys celebrated Comic-Con.
We
Can you
did.
talk a little bit more about that experience and, just quickly tell us, what that was like?
Yeah, so Comic-Con is the biggest day of the year for us here in New York City, for those of us that don't go to San Diego Comic-Con. But what we do is we try to meet up every day. If you're there, most of us do go either 2 or 3 days. We meet up, we find a time and place to just meet up, have food, talk our experiences, share information. What lines are short, what lines are long. Did you like this panel? Did you not like this panel? And we also do an after party. So every year on Saturdays, we have an after party, the Geek Girl Brunch Fangirl Night Out after party. We do raffles, we give things away, sign things, merch, anything. You come and you meet all the girls, whether you've been to one brunch or no brunch. It's a good way to get to know us.
That's amazing. So we have a little bit of time left in this segment. Can you just let people know, like, who would be the perfect candidate to, like, be a part of this group?
Anyone. If you're female oriented, if you identify as female, you come, and I promise you there's something we have that you've liked, whether you've read a book, whether you've seen a movie, you've seen a TV show, any of the Disney shows, Star Wars, Star Trek, anything you can think of. If you identify as female or female oriented, just go ahead. You can check us out on social media. You can reach out. Feel free. We're always on our phones. Like all the Geek Girls, we're very responsive. You send us a message, we'll get back to you. If you have an issue, questions, comments, concerns, we're here. Questions or anything.
So I want to thank you so much for joining us and having this conversation. I consider myself kind of like a nerdy geek girl, so I was so excited to hear that this was actually a thing, because I think it needs to be more of it. Of course, you could always go online, but it's nice to have like that person to person contact,
human interaction.
Yes, to talk about these things. So I appreciate you coming on here and sharing this with us.
It's my pleasure, and I hope to see you at the next one.
Of course. To stay informed about the Geek Girl Brunch in NYC, please go to their website at www.geekgirlbrunch.com. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more open right after this.